The human race is just a chemical scum on a moderate-sized planet orbiting around a very average star in the outer suburb of one among 100 billion galaxies. We are so insignificant that I cannot believe that the whole universe exists for our benefit alone. That would be like saying that you would disappear if I closed my eyes. That was what Stephen Hawking said when asked whether human beings have any significance. It's so unthinkable to the mind of a physicalist, even one of the most revered physicists in history, that any notion of purpose or meaning could be something beyond the grandstanding illusions of human beings. But is that so? And this is, in a way, the only question that matters. Does the universe have a purpose? Is that purpose relevant to us? And this question has become so cliche as to become laughable, producing an awkward laugh when asked in any rigorous environment, whether it's a college physics class or a philosophy lecture. Most intellectual environments have pronounced such a question beneath the dignity of their inquiry. It's not even worth responding to, too foolish even to indulge. Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the most famous science communicators of our time, says that any claim about the universe's purpose is by default going to be grounded in speculation and religious faith rather than rigorous logic. But what if there were a way to apply logic to the meaning of life, the universe, and everything? What if we could understand the universe's purpose from a perspective that is as universal and encompassing as religious thought, yet no less precise than any other kind of mathematical or scientific truth? Humans are not ourselves reality's purpose. 99.999% of universal history had no humans. But nevertheless, we are not a chance phenomena either. We are driving at the cutting edge of evolution. We are the expression of the process of reality itself, which means that we are produced by the purpose of reality, is that the end and goal that is within the reality system has the product of human consciousness. Purpose implies an intention behind an action or object, which requires a conscious being. So just as this purpose can produce conscious beings, it itself requires its own application of intelligence and creativity in order to evolve and adapt the universe to its ends. So if the universe has a purpose, the universe must also have intelligence and structure far beyond that which we are accustomed to thinking about in the physical world. Chris Langen's CTMU describes reality as an intrinsically meaningful system that emerges from consciousness. The CTMU restores the idea of teleology from the classical worldview. So there used to be this idea called teleology, which comes from the Greek word telos, which says that everything in existence has a meaning and a purpose. It is some end which draws things towards it, and that is how reality adapts and evolves. We used to believe that teleology, in fact, was the only law of the universe, is the ultimate and final end of all things is expressed in this idea. So a lot of people think that Isaac Newton discovered gravity, which is true in the physical sense, but the idea of gravity had existed for a long time before that. Aristotle, one of the great Greek philosophers, believed that gravity was due to teleology. He believed that there was simply a propensity for objects to fall to the ground because the ground was their ultimate purpose and destination, is that the ground calls all things towards it. It is the telos of all objects. It's not particularly rigorous, but it remains true nevertheless, is that any change that happens in reality has to do so according to the expression of some end or purpose. Even Newton himself believed this. He believed that gravity was the expression of a greater cosmic purpose. It's not self-explanatory, just like no other law of physics is self-explanatory. So both Aristotle and Newton, when seeing this phenomena of gravity, and both of these men were incredible scientists and philosophers, saw that there was something deeper going on there, that there has to be some teleology. some end or purpose which causes this property of the universe for massive objects to be attracted to one another. And although teleological theories are mostly out of fashion in physics, that doesn't make them any less true. And there are numerous examples in which the concept of teleology is preserved even in modern commonly accepted models of the universe. For example, there is a general idea that the universe increases entropy, and some physicists have hypothesized that the universe itself has the end or purpose of entropy maximization, is that it is trying to create a system of disorder. In the same way, Lee Smolin, who, if you don't know him, he's kind of like the Tom Brady of physicists. Like, everyone is really afraid of him in the physics world because he is this intellectual giant who is able to produce these very complicated theories. And his theory is called cosmological natural selection, which says that universes with constants that produce the most black holes will tend to exist within this space of potential called the multiverse. In the same way, this guy, John Wheeler, came up with this idea called the participatory anthropic principle, which says that only universes with conscious life will be able to produce the requisite effect in order for them to exist and remain, and thus the universe selects for these properties. So there are many mainstream scientific theories which rely on teleology, but there is none which properly explains how that teleology is determined, who or what is the cause of that purpose governing the universe. Ultimately, scientific theories must be explained by a veritable theory of everything, a theory that explains itself, including this ultimate why question of why is there something rather than nothing? Why does the universe exist? And this requires a theory that is able to ascribe a purpose to its own model universe. So within that theory is not only the physical laws of the universe, but also the metaphysical purpose. Teleology is best expressed as a global phenomena rather than as a property of local systems, because there has to be a purpose to it all in order for any local system to have a directionality or intention. Leibniz said centuries ago that God created the best of all possible universes, and what he meant by that is that the universe is perfectly structured because there is an intentional design that is manifest in its patterns and creation. So we can't just say the universe is just there and that's all, because the universe is not a self-evident fact. It had to have some cause that brought it into existence, and that cause can't be anything external to the universe. It has to be something internal to the universe, because anything outside of the real universe can't have any effect on something within it, because reality, or the real universe, contains all and only that which is real. Therefore, if the universe has any cause or meaning whatsoever, it is a self-causing meaning, which means that the universe has the ability to ascribe meaning and purpose to itself. It is a teleological system that emerges from its own boundary. And if all of this sounds really confusing, perhaps it should, because I haven't introduced the key element that allows meaning to emerge in the universe, which is consciousness. Think about it. All meaning comes from consciousness. Consciousness is the missing key to determine what the meaning or purpose of anything is. A rock doesn't have any purpose or end that it has in mind. Neither does a shirt or a table. Only beings with a sufficient degree of complexity that they are able to instantiate consciousness are able to determine meaning and purpose for themselves. And if there is consciousness and life and the universe is able to bring those about intentionally, that means the universe is able to respond to value. It's able to see which physical changes are going to affect it in such a way that is valuable to the progression and evolution of life and consciousness. And conscious life, or consciousness, is itself required to actualize or distinguish value between two contingent existences. Should we go down path A or path B? That requires a conscious choice. And that shows that consciousness is not only manifest as the product of evolution, but it is manifest in the process of evolution, meaning that the universe itself is conscious and is creating meaning and value for itself. value, or teleology, is the driving force behind the universe's creation and evolution. The universe is a self-excited circuit where consciousness and the cosmos co-create one another. Conscious observation brings reality into being. So this is why we seem to observe over time as the universe evolves that it is driving towards a greater degree of complexity, suggesting a cosmic imperative to evolve and adapt consciousness to increasingly complex forms of existence. Humans are at the frontier of cosmic evolution as far as we know, which means that we have the greatest degree of structural complexity and conscious life that we are aware of, at least on this planet. But nevertheless, the evolutionary process represents something greater than only human life. We are converging upon a point of a totalizing self-awareness of the entire universe. That is the final goal and destination of reality, is to become aware of itself and create a bright and vivid experience of itself, for itself, through itself. So reality is a self-simulative system that evolves through consciousness in order to become aware of itself. We are participants in the universe's gradual awakening. Humans are not mere accidents of chance evolution supervening on brute physical processes, but we are ourselves part of that process. We are intrinsic and important to the structure and dynamics of ultimate reality. We have a very important cosmic role to play as not only observers, but participants in the universe's structure. The CTMU, an ultimate theory of reality built by Christopher Langan, is created to answer this ultimate question of why are we here. It answers that the universe, as we've discussed, is a self-simulation that generates its own laws and structure to converge on this omega point of total self-consciousness. So the purpose of reality is self-understanding and self-experience. It is to become aware of itself and therefore identify itself in itself. So for the universe, self-consciousness becomes self-identification. Once it becomes aware of itself, it is able to forge an identity. An identity is that through which something exists, meaning that all events serve a higher order purpose encoded in the universe's syntax based on its ultimate identity. So all of the rules and structure of how things evolve in reality has to come from this initial form of how the universe identifies itself. What is that through which it exists? And that through which it exists is identical with this teleology. So reality's identity is the purposeful expression of consciousness. Consciousness is the mechanism by which the universe realizes its purpose and identity. And consciousness disrupts this tendency of reality to become increasingly disordered. This is a process called entropy, whereby any closed system will become more chaotic over time. Consciousness works through dissipative adaptation, which means that it actually takes that increasingly disparate material of reality and works within that to then assemble that into conscious life systems. So consciousness works against entropy and counteracts it to generate increasingly structurally complex life forms. The omega point, the final goal and terminus of reality's self-evolution, corresponds to the final self-actualization of the global operator descriptor, who is known as the identity of reality, which is fully realized when the universe achieves full self-knowledge and self-realization. So the universe is already self-complete in a certain sense because it has that goal in mind, and that goal is, to a certain extent, inevitable, outside of linear time. So that goal already exists and is already programming the universe. So that fully actualized state of self-awareness is that which is driving evolution even in the present moment before that state has finally emerged. So consciousness is unfolding itself in linear time to progress to that final goal or destination, creating a feedback loop that reconciles its origin with its destiny. The ultimate state of self-awareness, where the universe fully wakes up, is the telos, is the end and purpose of cosmic evolution. So we can envision the entire cosmos as a process of the universe gradually waking up, gradually evolving towards a state of maximal self-awareness. The universe has a twofold purpose. Firstly, to delight in the creation of form and experience itself through these forms. So this is pure being, the outward movement of creation and creativity, maximizing the latent potential of the universe. So this is the external appearance of the universe, which is all of these things which we see around us. Look up on high and you can see all of the magnificent complexity that is manifest in our cosmos. But the second divine purpose is not just that which is outside of us, but that which is within us, is this inner movement of self-realization that is represented by this drive for the universe to realize its own essence, its formless, timeless source through consciousness. Now, these inner and outer expressions, respectively corresponding to self-expression and self-realization, are mediated by consciousness. Consciousness connects the internal and external worlds through a unique world of experience through which the universe becomes aware. Every unique perspective of every human in reality contributes to this totalizing perspective of consciousness. Every being is a unique expression of this global mind. And this operation whereby we exist and participate in reality strikes at the heart of the duality between creation and realization, is that we as human beings are ultimately involved in both. We are physical beings, but we also have this essence wherein our purpose is full self-realization. And when creation and realization are combined, we get this purpose of human life that reflects this grander cosmic design, which is called self-actualization or teleological living, which means living your life in line with the global purpose of the universe. In truth, we are not separate from the universe because we are the universe expressing itself. So we are the same as the universe, and therefore we should have the same goals. So just as the universe has the purpose of self-awakening, of this more bright and vivid experience of reality by itself, we are not merely seeking to serve our own experience or our own pleasure or gain, but to maximize the bright and vivid experience of as many beings across the universe, which means that we need to recognize the common aspect of our humanity, is that our teleology, our end and purpose, is to help the system learn more about itself. And the way that we do that is to follow in the universe's footsteps of self-awakening. And for us, self-awakening is not merely this global process of self-awareness, but to realize that we have a shared basis of existence with every other being in the universe, is that we are all interconnected in ways that are not discernible on this plane of existence. And that means that we have duties to one another because we all share the same highest level of identity, which means that we are all the same and we should treat each other very well, not only because it's the right thing to do, but because it would be irrational to do otherwise, because when you are harming others, you are ultimately harming yourself. So delight in creation is intrinsically scaled corresponding to value in teleology, is that you have a very specific purpose to play in helping the universe fulfill its purpose, and that is the meaning of your life. So when we ask our original question, what is the meaning of the universe? Why does the universe exist? It is for you to make the correct decisions and participate in the evolution and progress of the universe. And I don't mean you as an individual, but you as this global identity, as your ultimate self is not this individual being, is not, the sense of experience that you have inside your meat skin, but rather it is the expression of consciousness itself. It is that you are a unique representation of the universal mind, and you can help participate in and fulfill the purpose of reality. Thank you. Let the light shine forth in the darkness. May the peace of our Father in heaven be upon you. Like and subscribe. Peace.